911, what's your emergency?
Yes, I need to Cutter County 911.
This is him. What's wrong, dear?
Listen, 681 Swan Johnson Road. Somebody has my daughter. Somebody in full camouflage got Holly. I grabbed her and took her to the woods. Please, get everybody out there.
Okay, they're on their way, sweetie. They're on their way right now.
Holly Lynn Bobo, born October 12, 1990 to April 13, 2011, was an American woman who disappeared on April 13, 2011 from a family home in Darden, Tennessee. Bobo was last seen alive by her brother, Clint, shortly before 8 a.m, walking into the woods outside her home with a man wearing camouflage. In September 2014, partial remains were found in northern Decatur County, and her death was ruled a homicide via a gunshot to the back of the head. At the time of her disappearance, Holly Bobo was a 20-year-old nursing student in the licensed practical nurse program at the University of Tennessee at Martin Parsons Center in Parsons, living with her parents and brother in Darden. Friends described her as shy and sweet. She was a cousin of country singer Whitney Duncan. In 2017, Duncan released a song called Better Place in memory of Holly. A timeline of events on the morning of April 13, 2011 is given below, on the basis of witness statements and reported phone records. 4:30 a.m. Holly awoke to study for an exam. 7:30 a.m. Holly answered a call from her boyfriend, Drew Scott, who was turkey hunting nearby on her grandmother's property. Holly's parents had left for work by this point, and her brother Clint was still asleep. 7:42 a.m. Holly made her last phone call. After this point, all phone calls and texts were incoming and unanswered. At some point after this call ended, a neighbour heard a scream from the Bobo residence. 7:46 a.m. The neighbour called the mother to tell her about the scream, who called Karen Bobo at work. 7:50 a.m. Clint was awakened by the family dog's barking and saw a man with Holly outside. It appeared to be Holly kneeling down with Drew Scott, and they looked like they were kneeling down, facing each other in the garage, and they were talking back and forth. Holly sounded very upset and heated. He was doing much of the talking, and she would answer back, and things like that. I couldn't make out hardly any of the words. The only words I could make out from here were Holly saying, "No, why?" Clint said that he believed the couple were breaking up. At some point, Karen called home and spoke to Clint. I said, "Clint, that's not Drew. Get a gun and shoot him." Clint reportedly replied, "You want me to shoot Drew?" still believing the man was Holly's boyfriend. 7:55 a.m. Karen called 911, but because she was calling from work, she reached the dispatcher for the wrong county. At home, Clint looked outside again and saw the man dressed in camouflage walking with Holly into the woods. At this point, he noted that the man with Holly was larger than Drew Scott. He tried to call Holly's cell phone as well, Scott's cell phone, but neither call was answered. 8 a.m. Karen called her house again. Clint told her what he saw, and she instructed him to call 911. Clint got a loaded pistol and went outside, where he found bloodstains belonging to Holly in a carport, then dialed 911. 8:10 a.m. Police began to arrive at the Bobo residence. 8:17 a.m. Cell phone pings showed Holly's cell phone moving away from her home tower, heading north. Her cell phone continued to a wooded area near Interstate 40, where her remains were eventually found. 8:30 to 9 a.m. The cell phone stopped moving for 20 to 30 minutes. The cell phone then began travelling south again, using a different route. 9:25 a.m. The last cell phone ping came from Holly's phone in the area where her phone and its SIM card were later found. Clint described the man as being between 5'10" and 6 feet tall, weighing 180 to 200 pounds and having dark hair sticking out from under his cap that was long enough to cover his neck and touch his collar. Clint said the man was wearing a hat and camouflage clothing from head to toe and identified the pattern as either mossy oak breakup or leafy wear. He described the male voice he heard as very deep and low. Extensive searches of the area were conducted following Bobo's disappearance. Several items belonging to Bobo were found scattered throughout the town, including her lunchbox, a receipt with her name on it, a card from school, her cell phone, and a SIM card, which had been removed. Early in the investigation, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation focused heavily on a registered sex offender who matched the witness description, named Terry Britt. His home was wiretapped and searched during the course of the investigation, but he was never charged. In September 2014, Bobo's partial remains were found by ginseng hunters in a wooded area of northern Decatur County, just off I-40, nearly 20 miles from Darden. The owner of the property said it was not uncommon for people to hunt there without permission. One of the men who found the remains said he saw a large bucket in the woods, which he upturned. Details of the contents have not been released. He then spotted Bobo's remains spread on the ground behind him. Investigators recovered her skull, teeth, several ribs, and one shoulder blade. Her skull had a bullet hole in the back of it on the right, with the trajectory going left, fracturing her left cheekbone when it exited. A total of 6 men have been implicated in connection with Bobo's disappearance, with the first of the arrests occurring in March 2014, prior to the discovery of Holly's remains. Zach Adams, his brother Dylan Adams, and friend Jason Autry were ultimately charged with especially aggravated kidnapping, first-degree murder, and rape. Another 2 men, Jeffrey and Mark Piercy, were arrested on charges of accessory after the fact and tampering with evidence. However, charges against the Piercy brothers were dropped. Another man, Shane Austin, committed suicide. It is unclear what initially led law enforcement to suspect these men, but the investigation began with the arrest of Dylan Adams on unrelated weapons charges. Following this arrest, he told police that he witnessed Bobo alive with his brother at Zach's home following her abduction. An affidavit for a search warrant states that Dylan told authorities that on April 13, 2011, he went to Zach's residence to get his truck. Dylan reportedly observed Holly and Bobo sitting in a green chair in a living room, wearing a pink t-shirt, with Jason Wayne Autry standing just a few feet away. He also told police Zach was wearing camouflage shorts, black cut-off sleeve t-shirt, and a pair of green Crocs shoes. Dylan also said that Zach told him he had raped Bobo and videotaped it. The alleged videotape has not been found. Dylan later recanted the confession and alleged that he was coerced, but his confession led to the arrests of Zach Adams, Jason Autry, and Shane Austin. Many of the details contained in the confession were eventually found to be inconsistent with the known evidence, and the narrative presented later in court was vastly different. In early 2017, it was announced that Jason Autry had agreed to testify against Zach in exchange for leniency. In 2014, District Attorney Matt Stowe said he and the TBI were still actively looking to bring criminal charges against additional people, although he declined to name the parties to the charges. Shane Kyle Austin was initially offered immunity in exchange for information regarding the location of Bobo's body. Phone records indicate that Austin was in contact with Adams several times on the day of Bobo's abduction, and police believe Austin helped dispose of the body. The agreement was withdrawn after Austin was unable or unwilling to lead them to the body, and the district attorney released a statement saying that Austin has not been completely truthful, forthcoming and cooperative as to any and all aspects of this investigation. In April, Austin's attorney filed a complaint against the state asking for an immediate and permanent injunction preventing the state from charging Austin. Austin was found deceased in February 2015 while in custody at the Henderson County Sheriff's Department located in Lexington. While being held on unrelated previous charges of theft and burglary, he had committed suicide. Austin's attorney blamed the suicide on the continual threats of prosecution as well as the witch hunt style of investigation, where they relied on rumours instead of evidence. His attorney insisted that he had nothing to do with the murder and cooperated fully with police. In July 2014, Jeffrey Piercy and his brother Mark Piercy were arrested and charged with accessory after the fact. and tampering with evidence. They were arrested on the basis of allegations made by Jeff's former roommate, Sandra King, who alleged that in May 2014, Jeff showed her part of a video showing Adams assaulting Bobo, who was tied up and crying. She told police that she watched only a small clip, did not see the sexual assault. Police arranged for King to make a recorded call to Jeff, where she told him over the phone, "That video of Holly, if it had been you, I would have watched it," to which she replied, "I know." King alleges that Pierce's brother Mark shot the video. Both brothers deny that a video existed, and Jeff Pierce denies knowing the other men who have been arrested for the crime. Jeff claims that he was unable to hear Sandra during the phone conversation and that his ex-wife's name is also Holly. Police have analysed over 20 phones but have not found any video. Charges against both men were subsequently dropped, and the narrative described at Zach Adams' trial did not include any mention of involvement by the Pierce brothers. The criminal case against the men charged has been met with strong criticism and conflict between the members of prosecution, complicating the investigation. District Attorney Matt Stowe was elected to office in the summer of 2014 following the arrests, and stated that he believes he was elected in part due to scepticism regarding the arrests and questions over whether enough evidence exists against them to obtain a conviction. Voters wanted another set of eyes on this Holly Bobo case. They weren't happy with everything that was coming out of there, and I think they wanted someone else to take a look, and someone else to say, "We know what's going on." In the fall of 2014, Jason Autry's attorney, John Herbison, accused the prosecutor of arresting the defendants without probable cause as an unethical investigatory technique, then adding and dropping charges strategically before hearings to avoid having to produce evidence against the defendants. In October 2014, when evidence tampering charges were dropped against Dylan Adams, just days after he was charged with rape, Herbison said, "If those reports are correct, it just means that they're playing games." They charged him with something less serious in order to keep him locked up, and then when it comes time to answer questions about the charge, they dismiss that and charge him with a more serious charge in circuit court, where he's not entitled to a preliminary hearing. He also noted the state's similar treatment of Mark Piercy to avoid hearings. In October 2014, the state failed to arrange transport for Piercy to the courthouse, causing the hearing to be rescheduled for September. But just prior to the new hearing, the charges against him were dropped, with explanation given that Piercy was facing unrelated federal charges and they were being forced to wait to proceed to the state charges. Herbison said the laws regarding the charges would not preclude the state charges. If the state is claiming that this is the case, the prosecutor is either ill-informed or being disingenuous, he said. Charges were never reinstated, and the case against his brother Jeff was similarly dropped. Zach Adams' attorney Jennifer Thompson repeatedly said that evidence was not turned over to the defence. For example, 2014, DA Matt Stowe said in a statement that because Holly was menstruating at the time of her abduction, there was a lot of DNA evidence in Zach Adams' Decatur County home. No DNA evidence was ever turned over to the defence or produced at trial. She also said that the medical examiner referred to the materials that were never given to her. On December 17, 2014, 9 months after Zach Adams' arrest, Judge Creed McGinley chastised prosecutors for delays in the case and for the state's failure to turn over evidence to the defence. "I am absolutely out of patience with these cases not moving," he said. Judge McGinley ordered that a bill of particulars be filed for Zachary Adams' case within 7 days and that discovery take place immediately. The prosecution ignored both deadlines. In response, attorneys for the men filed motions to dismiss charges. The motions filed accused the state of silence or stonewalling, stating that, among other things, the state had yet to disclose evidence that the skull found belonged to Bobo. "It would appear to me if they had a skull with a dental match, they would have given that to us right away. It's a little suspicious why we don't have that forensic information," said Autry's attorney Fletcher Long. Following the hearing in December 2014, a dispute regarding the handling of the case led the TBI to briefly drop its investigation of the case and cut ties with the entire district, saying District Attorney Matt Stowe had accused them of misconduct. The TBI agreed to come back on the case after Stowe recused himself from the case, and Jennifer Nichols was appointed as special prosecutor. Following Stowe's allegations of misconduct by the TBI, the defence attorneys working on the case stated that they intended to subpoena Stowe and question him regarding the alleged misconduct. Emails by Wally Kirkby, Executive Director of Tennessee District Attorney's Conference, revealed that Stowe accused the TBI of compromising the case by proceeding so slowly the culprits were always one step ahead, and that TBI was leaking information and possibly covering up evidence. On September 22, 2017, a jury found Zach guilty on all charges, including first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison plus 50 years on September 23rd. He maintains his innocence. In January 2018, Zach's brother Dylan accepted an Alford plea, and he was sentenced to 35 years in prison.